We're back with the Executive Vice President and CEO of the National Rifle Association, Wayne LaPierre. Welcome. Let me start with where we were with Donald Trump on this question of anybody wants to purchase a gun who happens to be on one of these federal lists. Is there any space between you and Donald Trump, and what worries you about legislation on that?
Let me set it in context in terms of what I think we're facing this past week. I mean, we all mourn for what happened, John, but we faced a terrorist challenge where they're on the verge of overwhelming us. What happened this past week is the president, the whole gun ban movement said, hey, don't look at terrorists. Look over here. Divert your attention. Take your eyes off the problem, because they don't want to face the embarrassment of their failure in this terrorist area, and they want to cover their butts and not talk about it. You can't save the country with politics. The politically correct policies of the White House are intruding right now in military, terrorism, law enforcement. It's all being politicized with the politically correct White House nose and fingers in areas they don't belong. And let's start with a terrorist watch list.
We'll address some of those claims in a minute, but just quickly on this question of you and Donald Trump. You're in the same place on this issue?
You know, Donald Trump's, as far as I know, he wants to attack criminals, he wants to protect the law-abiding, and he wants to attack ISIS and get the bad guys, and that's where we are.
If a person's on a watch list, whether a no-fly or terror watch list, what should the policy be?
You know, let me talk about the watch list. I have never seen so much misinformation and poorly researched stories the last week as we've seen. What happens on the watch list? People forget law enforcement set it up. They set it up exactly the way they wanted it, federal law enforcement. NRA didn't take the guy's name off the list. The federal government did. FBI did, largely because of some of these politically correct policies that I think I've been talking about earlier. Here's what would have happened if they left him on the list. People don't understand this. There would have been a ping going to the federal government. They would have talked to the guy but actually put his name on the list. There would have been a 3-day delay. During that delay, if the government wanted to stop it, they could go to court. They could stop it. What law enforcement wants to do 90% of the time, 99% of the time, is let it go through. They want to watch it. They want to build a case. They want to build patterns. FBI Director Comey said that he didn't want an outright ban because that would blow a lot of their criminal investigations.
But you also don't want terrorists with guns in their hands, right?
Nobody wants terrorists with guns.
So what's the accommodation we can find here?
The accommodation is the Cornyn bill, which does exactly what law enforcement set up. It codifies the whole thing. If somebody's on the list, tries to buy a gun, there's a delay. Law enforcement immediately gets on it. If they want to stop it, they go to a judge. They've got oversight. They have to do it right away, because the minute you do a delay, you're tipping off the bad guy. And it provides due process for the good people, and it gives law enforcement the ability where they can conduct these investigations, and it won't blow what they're doing.
Let me get back to your original point, which is in the reaction to this. Isn't it human nature to, when something happens, to reach for an explanation of what happened? So there's the terrorist piece, there's the LGBT piece.
Sure.
But are people so crazy to think that a weapon that is involved in the case and has been in other cases is not something to just seek into and inquire and find out what's going on? You're kind of making it sound like it's a conspiracy. Aren't people just trying to figure out why people should be able to have access to weapons that produce bullets so quickly, and maybe we should do something to curb that? That seems like a human reaction.
John, I think we need to look right in the face of what these people are that we're facing. They don't care about the law. Laws didn't stop them in Boston. Laws didn't stop them in San Bernardino, where you had every type of gun control law you could have. And they didn't stop them in Paris, where people can't even own guns. They had fully automatic guns. They had ICDs. They had explosives. I mean, these bad guys we're facing, they don't say, oh, gosh, they passed a law. Oh, gosh, I don't think I can do it. It's like what we're doing with this debate on the Hill right now. It's like they're trying to stop a freight train with a piece of Kleenex.
Wouldn't a pause or a waiting period or extra scrutiny or something maybe create one more filter that might have caught a guy like Mateen? It goes the argument.
The filter is take them off the street, confront them directly, attack them. That's what we've got to do.
You've said a good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun. There was a good guy with a gun in the club, couldn't stop him.
Well, what every place needs is a security plan that protects it. The fact is, we need to face what's coming. They're trying to kill us. They're not going to attack hard targets. All the hard targets are protected by the government with guns. They're going to go for vulnerabilities. They're going to go for shopping malls. They're going to go for churches. The fact is, we need vigilance, we need preparedness, we need a full court press on personal protection. We need to be able to protect ourselves.
Donald Trump has suggested concealed carry in a nightclub where people are drinking. Is
I
that a
don't
good
think
idea?
you should have firearms where people are drinking, but I'll tell you this, every American needs to start having a security plan. We need to be able to protect ourselves because they're coming. And they're going to go for vulnerable spots, and this country needs to realize it.
What does that mean, a security plan? Should everybody get an automatic or a semi-automatic, or should we lift the limits against automatic weapons?
I think that we're talking about the fact law-abiding people need to be able to own firearms to protect themselves. I think we need national carry reciprocity. I think every school needs a protection plan with either police officer or certified armed security. When we need to look at all our vulnerabilities, and we need to harden them because they're coming and they're going to try to kill us, and we need to be prepared. And this president, by diverting the attention to gun control movement, that's not going to solve the problem. They could care less.
Do you think, Donald Trump mentioned somebody going in buying all sorts of ammunition. Should the amount of ammunition somebody buys get them extra scrutiny?
Again, you're going to an area that doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference.
Well, but he's running for the nomination, and you've endorsed him, so
that's
right or
not
wrong about
the
that?
issue. I mean, if we want to save lives, let's look at Chicago, okay? You got every federal gun law in the books right now. Drug dealer with a gun, 10 to 20 years. Criminal gang member with a gun, 10 to 20 years. Felon with a gun, 5 to 10 years. This federal government, that Attorney General Janet Lynch, they're not enforcing any of the federal gun laws. They're letting it happen night after night after night, and they're being given cover by the elite media like the New York Times that writes a 5-page story and has one little paragraph.
We're going to have to end it there, Mr. LaPierre. I'm sorry.
Let's get the bad guys off the street, attack the terrorists, and leave the good guys alone.